Hello everyone, this is Kathy from House of Toefl, and today is a quick crash course for beginner students. This is for all 4 prompts of the Toefl in the speaking section, and we're just going to do a very quick overview today. This video is not for my very experienced students who have taken the test 10 times or 12 times. This is for beginner students who perhaps never have taken the Toefl, or perhaps took it once, but it was a long time ago and need a refresher about what to expect during the Toefl test. So, first of all, what is tested during the speaking section? The speaking section of the Toefl IBT tests your ability to express your opinion, to take notes, to use good grammar and pronunciation, and to speak with a variety of vocabulary and summarize both conversations and academic content. The speaking section takes 17 minutes. There are 4 prompts. You will be wearing a headset with a microphone attached while facing a computer. Your responses are recorded, and later they are scored by one human rater and one software program, which is called the Speech Rater software. All prompts are given a score out of 4, and then the average of the score of the 4 is taken and then converted into a score out of 30. 30 out of 30 is the best possible score you can get on the speaking section of the Toefl. So let's talk about what to expect from each prompt. We'll begin with prompt number 1. So there's 3 possible question types that they give during the Toefl. The most common is the agree or disagree. So one example of this would be, do you agree or disagree with the following statement? It is easier to work on a team than to work alone. The other type is called the personal preference. One example would be, some people prefer to eat their meals alone. Other people prefer to eat their meals with friends or family. Which do you prefer and why? Then we have the good idea prompt. This one is less common, only about 20% of prompts are this type. It gives you a situation and then asks you if you think this is a good idea. For example, your city government has decided to build an elementary school on your street. Do you think this is a good idea? Now let's discuss some facts about prompt 1. You will have 15 seconds to prepare and 45 seconds to speak. The prompt and the timer will remain on the screen. The timer will count down, not up. 45 seconds is enough time to say approximately 7 sentences. Now, some people say 6, other people say 8 or 9, but on average you can say about 7 sentences. My best advice here, just generally, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail today, but generally it's good to have 2 ideas and to support them with either examples or specific information that supports your ideas. And then if you have extra time at the end, you may wish to add a conclusion such as, that's why I feel that way, or that's why I believe it's a good idea to have an elementary school on my street. Okay, now an overview of prompt 2. The ETS calls this the campus situation task. I call it personally the announcement discussion task because that's what it is. For this prompt, you will read an announcement that is approximately 100 words. It will have a title and then 100 words to explain what the title means. And it describes a change that will happen on a college campus. And it will make 2 points about the change. It could be 2 points about what they're doing, or usually why they're making the change, or how they're making the change. It will be on the screen for 45 to 50 seconds and then disappear. You must quickly note down the title, because the title tells you what the change is, and then what the 2 main points are. So what they're doing and perhaps the 2 main points about why they're doing it. So perhaps they're building a new stadium and it's 100 words about what they're doing, and the 2 main points could be they're building it to attract top students to the college and to also attract people in the town to see the football games. Then you listen to a conversation that takes place between 2 students. One is male and one is female. One student, could be the man, could be the woman, will express an opinion about the change. And this opinion will be related to the 2 points made in the announcement. This opinion will either support or oppose the change from the announcement. Now here's some quick facts. You will have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. The prompt and the timer will remain on the screen. The timer will count down from 60. Now, just to break this down, you should spend about 12 to 15 seconds describing the announcement and then 45 seconds summarizing the conversation. You only need to describe the opinion of the person the prompt asks about. So if the prompt asks you to describe the woman's opinion, you don't have to say anything about what the man said. Now, again, for a more detailed explanation of each prompt, you can watch the other videos on my channel. Today is just a quick overview for beginners. So that's why we're moving on so quickly to prompt 3. So prompt 3 is an academic task. I personally call it the definition example. For this prompt, you will read a definition that is approximately 100 words. Again, it will have the title and then 100 words to explain the title. It defines a concept. Now, the definition, this is going to stay on the screen for between 45 to 50 seconds. And again, just like the previous prompt, it disappears. It does not come back. Now, there's many possible topics. Some of the common ones are art, psychology, history, animal behavior, sociology, biology, and so on. Then you listen to a short lecture, and the lecture will give you a specific example of the definition. So just quickly, for example, let's say the definition is about camouflage. And the definition basically says that camouflage is a strategy that animals use to hide from their predators, and there are animals that use certain coloration to camouflage in their environment. Then perhaps the example could give you the example of a moth that's found in Europe, and it's a black and white moth. And the reason it's black and white is because the trees there are black and white, and so it hides in the trees, and that's the camouflage it uses. So that's just a quick example, but you get the idea. Of course, it's much more difficult when you actually take the test. And for a more in-depth analysis, check out some of my other videos as well. So some quick facts about prompt number 3. You have 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. The prompt and the timer remain on the screen. The timer will count down. So we want to follow this pattern, again, of 12 to 15 seconds on the reading part, which in this case is a definition, and then 45 seconds summarizing the lecture. Now, for this one, I do recommend a quick conclusion. You can finish your answer by saying, this example clearly illustrates. So for my moth example, you could say, the example of the moth clearly illustrates camouflage. You want to repeat that title from the reading. Okay, now the last is prompt number 4. This is also an academic task, but it's just a summary question. There is no reading here. You just listen to a lecture. The lecture will be about 1.5 minutes, but it can be up to 2 minutes. Now, typically the lecture will present a concept, and then it will divide it into 2 categories, okay, into 2. So the professor usually does an introduction that takes about 10 seconds or more to introduce the concept. But it is actually not necessary to repeat this introduction. In fact, you don't have time. You simply mention the topic. That's all you have time to do. So let me give you a quick example. Let's say the professor is in a biology class and she starts by talking about the Arctic. The professor might say, the Arctic is a very harsh environment for both animals and plants. There's not a lot of life in such a low temperature, and so many animals have difficulty surviving, and there aren't many plants either. But some animals have special adaptations that make them ideally suited for this climate. Okay, everything I just said, you wouldn't repeat. Then she's going to start breaking it down. She might say, there are 2 adaptations that are very common in Arctic animals. The first is, that's when you really start having to pay attention when you're listening, because that's where you really need to start your answer. Your answer will start with simply, the professor is talking about 2 adaptations animals use to survive in the Arctic. The first is, and then move on to her first concept. So in other words, all I'm saying here is don't repeat the entire introduction. I've seen students repeat the introduction and take 25 to 30 seconds to do so, and then they're in big trouble. They don't have enough time to go over the 2 concepts. You need to go quickly to the first concept, explain the example given, then move on to the second concept and the example given there. So let's go over some facts about that, especially with timing. You have 20 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to speak. The prompt and the timer, again, they remain on the screen. Again, it counts down. Now you want to sum up the introduction in just a few seconds. Then you want to quickly go to the first concept and the example, and you want to finish that with 25 seconds remaining on your timer. at least, because you still have to summarize a second concept and a second example. That will take you at least 25 seconds. And you need to achieve this before the 60 seconds is finished. Because if you don't get that second example, there's no way to get a full score. So you have to practice, practice, practice. Okay, now one other thing about prompt 4. Sometimes prompt 4 does not present two concepts. I have heard some, for example, that are organized a little differently. There could be one that summarizes an experiment that was conducted. Obviously, you're going to have to handle the timing different. You're not going to split it in half, like when there's two, but you're still summarizing what you heard. So either way, this is basically you giving a summary of a lecture. But be prepared for some differences in the lecture. You really have to practice a lot of prompts. Now let's go over a couple facts about the entire speaking section. First of all, as I already mentioned, it's 17 minutes and you're graded on 3 areas: your delivery, your language use, and your topic development. But I strongly recommend you look at the rubric, and I've added the website address of the rubric here for you to go and see how you're scored. Because if you don't know how you're scored, you don't know what to give them. You don't know what's important for you to do and what's not important. So please do take some time to look at that rubric before the test. As I mentioned earlier, each prompt is given a score out of 4, and then the average is calculated and turned into a score out of 30. Now, there's no such thing as passing or failing. It's just that some careers have a minimum score. For example, to become a pharmacist, you need a 26 on the speaking section. And if you're already a pharmacist or studying to become one, you already know this and you already know how challenging that can be. And that's why you might want to ask for help and get a private tutor just to get you over that hump. Because I've heard of students stuck for a year and a half at 23, 24, and it's not wrong to ask for guidance. It's actually a really good idea to ask for help or take a class. Now, as I mentioned, there's no pass or fail, but the ETS does have categories of what they consider speaking capabilities. An advanced speaker is at 25 to 30. High intermediate is at 20 to 24. Low intermediate, 16 to 19. A basic speaker falls in between 10 and 15. And below basic is 0 to 9. So that gives you an idea of your speaking level. Okay, and thank you for watching this short explanation of the speaking section of the TOEFL. Again, my name is Kathy. I own House of TOEFL, and you can contact me on my website at www.houseoftoefl.com. Feel free to spend some time on my website. I have a blog there. My videos are there. You can contact me for private lessons and so forth. And you can also just contact me with questions. So again, thank you for watching this video. And please feel free to explore all my other videos. I have videos for each of these prompts by themselves that go into a lot more detail. So feel free to check those out. And as always, good luck on your TOEFL. Thank you and have a great day.